I'm Luca Giliberti, contributing writer for Gold Derby, and I'm joined today by Moira Frazier, the hair department head of Abbott Elementary, and Constance Foe, the makeup department head. Maria and Constance, before we get into season three, I actually want to talk about the circumstances leading up to season three because they were kind of unique in that you had a longer than usual break between seasons for obvious reasons. So to start things off, I'd be really curious to hear from you how that changed or lent itself to your creative process. Did that give you more time to kind of delve into the characters' psyches, to really think more deeply about these characters? And if so, did that change your overall approach to the season once you started working on it? Maria, I'll throw this one to you first.
Actually, it did. The strike and well, all the historic strike kind of like threw us off for a little.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, we didn't expect to be off work for this long amount of time. So as I normally would do, or as I did, was I basically went into my archives and started honing my craft. That's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew that, with things shut down and we couldn't really move, I couldn't really talk to the actors. I couldn't see the actors. I didn't necessarily know what the writers was going to come up with or anything like that. I had to just kind of make myself be ready because when I knew it was going to open back up, we were going to hit the pavement really hard. And this season, the writers was lucky enough, even though they went off for the amount of months that they were on their strike, they were the ones who got off first. So I got a taste of what we were going to be writing, not writing about, but what the first and second episode was going to be about. And as soon as that happened, I still couldn't move because I had to wait for the actors. And it's that strange area when the actress is also a writer. So yes, she could tell you about it, but I can't like go see her to do the fitting, to do any of that stuff. So thankfully, I already had their measurements. I already had their I kind of got an idea, so I can at least work on the backs because I did all of their wigs. So what ended up happening was as soon as the strike lifted and everyone came to an agreement, I literally had 21 days to make two full lace wigs, two hairpiece toppers, one half hairpiece. Oh my God, like I had a lot to do in 21 days. Thankfully, I'm able to make a full lace wig in 5 to 7 days. So that kind of helped shave my time off to get everything done for the cast. On top of, we had to make sure that they were ready because the day before our first shoot date, we had to do a promo. Which means everything had to be done. So I kind of had to do it in 20 days.
Well, that's incredible. And you pulled it off. But Constance, for you, what was that experience for you? Was it the same like Maria's?
Very similar. I honed my craft. I started taking more classes. I was getting with other artists and we were just feeding off of each other and, just constantly in the groove so you won't lose what you're doing. You get stagnant, you get bored and stuff. So just basically doing the same thing. Going into the season, I was coming up with vision boards and seeing what may work or if this may be too much because each character has their own signature look type of thing.
Absolutely.
And again, when we got there, the very first day before principal shooting, we had that photo shoot and it was totally insane. We were just thrown into it and it came out amazing.
And that was a last minute decision, by the way.
Really?
Normally advertising shoots are a little bit after we get into the groove and get into the first episode, maybe even the third. But this time it was the day before.
The day before.
They were like, oh, by the way, you guys have a photo shoot.
I mean, and that's kind of interesting because then you don't have a lot of time to prepare, right? And I always think about, sometimes, yes, it's nice to have more time for preparation. But at least in my case, when I have too much time to prepare, I start overthinking things. And when I have very little time, you kind of rely on your instincts. You rely on what you know about these characters. And so I guess, how does it compare having a lot of time versus not having any time? Do you have a preference between the two, or would you say it kind of depends on the circumstances?
I personally love working under pressure. I know that's
Yeah.
very, but I love working under pressure because it's
Yeah.
like you have faith in that final decision if it's gonna work or not. And
Yeah.
this situation, it's like I kind of was working on it, but not really working on it. I'm like, do I buy all the materials and start anyway? And I really don't know, or not. And a lot of times I really couldn't move because, like I said, we weren't working. Nobody, the whole industry was shut down. So we had to be very careful about the expenses that we were incurring, even in our own businesses. So it's like, it's just one of those things.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I work well under pressure. I prefer pressure because it makes you get it together. You don't have that time to second guess yourself. Like, you really do rely on your instincts and your knowledge.
Yes.
Absolutely. And that makes three of us. I mean, I've never had to do work that's this this commanding and this stressful, but on it, sometimes you just rely on your instincts, and then sometimes you're just so surprised by what you're able to produce under pressure. So I can absolutely relate to that. But to get into the third season, over the course of the 3 seasons of the show, a lot of these characters have obviously undergone a lot of transformation. But I think the character who undergoes the most drastic one in season 3, at least, is Janine. And Maria, when you were doing press for season 1, you talked about how you kind of wanted Janine to have this get out of bed, go to work look, because she just didn't have a lot of money, and she was just more focused on the job, right? She wanted to go there and teach the children, and that was what was most important to her. But in season 3, she obviously leaves Abbott to work for the school district, which results in a kind of a more refined look for her. So the two of you, if you could talk a bit about creating that look. Constance, let's start with you this time.
With her look, for me, I was like, we have to have subtle differences because you don't want to just drastically change Janine. We went with more jewel tone eye liners this season. It's still dark enough to look black and dark brown, but once the light hits it, it dazzles into the emeralds and the sapphires and the jades and stuff. And it would match her outfits. And for me, it made it as if she was paying attention to what she was doing. She was more cognizant of what she was doing in the morning. She was putting everything together. She had just got rejected, and she's like, okay, let me just take control of my life. And she was doing a different lip combo. She now used liner instead of just lip gloss. It was more purposeful this time.
Yeah, and Maria, what about you? What about her hair? How did you tweak that hair to sort of introduce her to this new environment?
Well, Quinta texted me and was like, listen, we got to do a middle part this season. I was like, oh, girl, we're doing middle part. But the thing is, I understood her middle part based off of how the episodes play out in the first and second episode of our premiere. And what is the first thing you change when you get into a breakup? As a woman, the first thing we change is our hair. Cutting her hair off would be too drastic for Janine's character. So me and Quinta kind of talked about like Janine Googling how to take care of my hair. You know what I mean? Like how to take care of curls. That's why this season you see more of the defined curl pattern. She's not just jumping out of bed and getting ready to go to school to teach these kids because she doesn't have a lot of money, because in our culture, we figure out how to make it work. We can make $2 stretch. If that's some homemade remedies, you go in your closet or your kitchen and get you some olive oil, whatever, and just mix it up together. You got a homemade concoction for $2-3. That's just what we do. We're very resourceful. So Janine, I see her as being that resourceful type of a girl, and she definitely displayed that very well, even with taking that extra step and making sure that her hair was on point because she wanted to be taken more seriously. She works with the department now. Her love interest has just rejected her. So it's like, okay, well, instead of doing a side part, I'm doing a middle part. And this is what's happening. And we're doing this library and we're going to do X. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to change this, what y'all say. And that is the confidence that it gave Janine to be able to walk into her character through and through.
Yeah, and then, the longer that she's at the district, the more she starts to realize that that's not necessarily where she belongs. And then she eventually returns to Abbott, as we saw in the most recent episode that aired as of this recording. So I guess, how did you reflect that growing internal conflict in the makeup and hair designs? Because I always tend to believe that conflicts do in some ways manifest themselves in the way we present ourselves. So was there kind of an intention to sort of very subtly change her look as the season progressed? Or is that not something that was necessary in this case? Whoever would like to take that one.
It was absolutely done on purpose.
Mm.
I don't remember how it's written, and every character evolves in some small, slight way. Even with Barbara's character, her character evolves a little. We see her step outside of her zone when she got introduced to the cosmetologist to do a little bit of a drastic hair change, a little bit. It's still Barbara, but it's a little bit of a to her hair. But with Janine, because she's just so to the book, I'm doing this right, and I want to just be this uniform, teacher and change the world. Sometimes it's okay to color outside of the lines. And for Janine, when she did color outside the lines and she stepped into this new position and then back into Abbott, she kind of kept a little bit of those tips and tricks along the way. Because even though it's Janine switching from the middle of the side part, she doesn't let those parts define her. They boost the confidence, but they don't define her.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yes.
Constance, go ahead.
For makeup, same thing. She kept a couple of the things. If you've noticed in the first couple of episodes, she had like her cheeks more towards the front. It was more of a fleshy tone and stuff. But once she goes back to Abbott, it's not so much in your face. We pushed it back so you can see more of Janine again. She still kept her jeweled eyeliner because that is now her new thing, going with her hair being more defined, but it's just not as visible, but it's still little tweaks going in there.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm really curious to see how her look, changes in the upcoming, or how it kind of compares to the first batch of episodes that we've seen, based on everything that you've said now. And I think another character who kind of undergoes a big change this season is Jacob, because he splits up with his boyfriend, Zach, and he's, newly, freshly single. So how does that change in his life manifest in his look, whether that be in his hair, in his beard, or anything else? Whoever would like to take that one.
For Jacob, Naima Jamal does him. He's such an amazing actor. He really just likes a fresh, clean face. And again, skin regimen is everything for us at Abbott. We make sure that their skin is on point, so whatever we put on them looks flawless. And he's one that likes minimal makeup, so we got that formula to a T. And it's just in every episode, you see just more of his natural skin.
And as far as hair is concerned, Jacob, we like to keep him freshly cut. And we like to keep him with that fresh fade. I feel like his hair makes him so much more youthful.
Yes.
And it makes him so much relatable to the kids that he's teaching. I think this season, he's the most woke, as we may call it. And it relates so much to the kids because the kids, like the way you see them interact with him on screen, like everybody loves Mr. C. It may not seem like they do, like it may seem like he a little corny, but he really not. He the cool dude. And that's what we wanted to exude with his hair. We wanted him to be that fresh cut teacher. Well, maybe I know this or maybe that. I'm gonna show the kids this comment video. You think it's okay? They can watch it. Like he's that aware. We love that for Jacob. So that's why we wanted to keep that fade. We wanted to keep that fade so we could stay relatable.
Yeah, I love that. I love his hairstyle on the show. It's such a I don't want to say trendy hairstyle, but it is that type. That hairstyle is really in. So I kind of can kind of imagine that the children would that also changes the relationship that the students, the children would have with their teacher based on how they present themselves. That's a really interesting way of putting it. And and then someone whose look is constantly changing is Ava. And Maria, when you were doing press for season 1, you really described her as a city girl, meaning that her hair had to always be on point, meaning that she always had to have the latest hairstyle, and meaning that her wig had to be in constant change. So I guess for the two of you, walk me through the process of the hairstyles and looks that you got to create for Ava this season, and also talk a bit about the process of landing on a specific look. Is it based on, you know, what's going on in an episode, or based on the personality that she wants to show? Because, you know, given that it's constantly changing, I must imagine it to be very difficult to land on kind of the specifics of the looks in a given episode. Maria, let's give this one to you first.
Well, with Ava, played by Janelle James, I made all of her lace front wigs. Janelle, or should I say Ava, her character is such I call it an action character. She moves constantly. And when you move and talk with your hands and talk with your hair has to move with the movements. I don't like stiff wigs, neither does Ava. So for her, we had to go high quality. And when I built these wigs, I do build these wigs from scratch because we're dealing with 8K cameras, which means our cameras can now pick up everything. We didn't have these season 1 and season 2. You know, it's easier when you're filming in different with different cameras, but 8K, you can see everything. So I had to get the thinnest lace available in the market and put it on all of these wigs this year. So for her, I created 2 looks so she can have variation, and we went with a long 30-inch wig, lace front wig that actually has texture. It wasn't that silky straight. It was more of a texture, kind of like how our hair is anyway, but it's like a yucky straight permed textured hairstyle, and it was very long and very 30-inch. And every time she moved, like when you saw it in in the premiere episode, when she went back to old Ava, baby, that wasn't nothing tangling up.
Yeah, that looked amazing. It looked really, really great.
It's like the wigs become the characters. It's like that little side character in the show. But yes, for Ava, when she wants to feel like a boss, we do long hair and more so straight. Because as you see this season, she's being taken a little bit more seriously too. She went to Harvard now. Online, but she went to Harvard. And with that, we chose to go a different route with Ava. Instead of the whole glamorous every time you see her, we're going to take it down a notch, but with a statement. So we're going to do straight every time you see her in Abbott. And when she's in her really big roles, like if she has has to present an award or doing a party or even Ava Fest, that's when we spiced it up a taste. But to be taken seriously, we went with the straight long, because long hair always makes a statement. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And Christina Joseph takes care of her as far as keeping up with her style on set.
Her style on set. And Constance, what about your process when it comes to Ava?
Oh my God. Once again, Janelle James is amazing. But as Ava, she's a boss. Her presence, once she comes into the room, you are going to look at her. She commands it. So with her makeup process, literally, again, skincare is everything. We used Tatcha on her, the whole skin regimen, just to make sure her skin was up to par to put makeup on, because we were in 8K. And again, just like with Moira, we wanted to make sure skin was flawless. So with that, we literally were like, okay, Ava is now wants to be taken serious. So it's no longer so much makeup. It's just like a more cleaner and defined look for her. We still kept the bossy lip bar lipstick on her. That's what you see in the first episode with her Ava Harvard shirt. And then you start to see her go into more nudes and then just like browns. But again, once it's like Ava Fest and things like that, you see that bold lips again, because she wants you to hear her. She wants you to see her, and she commands the attention.
She absolutely does. She's iconic. Everything about Ava is absolutely iconic. I fear I only have time for one brief question, and I know the two of you can't reveal anything about the upcoming episodes, but I was telling Constance before we started recording that I talked to Randall Einhorn last week, and he really talked about how the finale is just one of the most extraordinary episodes everyone has produced. So is there anything that you can tease, not just about the finale, but about the upcoming episodes? Is there anything that makes you especially excited for viewers to see them? I know, again, you can't give away any spoilers, but just on a final note, is there anything that you would like?
I I would like to, I think everyone's going to gag on episode 312. It's going to be a slay away on episode 312. I'm trying to get references.
Listen.
It's gonna be a key on episode 312.
You're gonna be like, oh my God. Like,
Yes, I'm telling you, it's gonna be absolutely, it's gonna be a ball on episode 312. So I don't know. I mean, I hope that was hint enough.
That was the tease.
yeah. What I would like to say, especially on Tyler for Gregory, we get to see, if you've been seeing through these episodes, like he's totally tatted up, and you get to see more of his arms. Have you been seeing through these episodes? And I've covered his arms and everything, and you just get to see more of that in this last episode.
Oh, that's great. I love both of these teases. Thank you so much for that. And thank you.
And just an extra tease for 312, because I said it was a slay. It was a, all of the things. You're going to get to see a lot more creativity coming from the hair and makeup and wardrobe department. Where, we are building these wigs from scratch. You're going to see more hair. And when I say more hair, I'm talking about 3 to 5 wigs to 1 wig. 3 to 5 wigs to 1 head. So it's going to be big. We going big. They say go hard or go home. We going hard.
And nobody went home. I can tell you that. We all went hard.
I mean, isn't that a perfect final note here? Thank you so much, Maria and Constance, for walking me through your process for the teases. We're very excited to see the upcoming batch of episodes. And congratulations on Abbott Elementary Season 3. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you
so much.